Hi, everybody. Janet Eichhorst here, and I am with Jill Renee Feeler, my dear friend. And here we are to record episode 23 of our podcast series. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Janet. Good to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here today. Yeah. So, we are doing our traditional organic way of topic picking. And this is what came to me this morning as I was making my breakfast. I would love to just share some real experience from my personal experience, from clients, from pretty much everybody I know. What I'm hearing are high highs, low lows, and just a complete range of things happening in our lives. And I'll start out a little. Why not? We've been upfront and personal this whole series. So I'll share the experience of I think it was Sunday. I was I just felt like I was crawling out of my skin. The intensity was like full on. And you could describe that as fight or flight, right? There was a real fight or flight. Oh my goddess, how can I get the pressure off in this moment, right? And there was an event I was supposed to go to. The flyer did not match the time of what was actually happening. So that means I was finished. I didn't want to go, first off. And it was one of those moments I was just like, ugh, don't make me, right? Like, I just don't want to do it. And what was cool about it is I didn't F it, but I did it in the positive way because I knew I needed to go. Right.
Mhm.
So that was like just going a little deeper, Janet. Come on now. Like, show up, put on your big girl pants, right? So I go, the event is like this long because, like I said, the times don't match. And so I went to the river and I had this, well, complete meltdown, I'll say, you know? And it was really quite, I want to call it a spiritual experience where I felt like I was releasing who I had been. And there was a lot of, I don't know, static around that. I hadn't quite gotten enough stuff released. And I'm like bawling, it's messy. I'm in a public place. There's a guy playing the guitar across the way, right? And this is the miraculous thing that happened. This bee floats by and it's drowning.
Mm.
It's in the water and it's drowning. And here I am, kind of meditating, kind of caught up in my own stuff. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about it. I looked for something to get the bee out of the water. And I did. And I put the bee on the bank. And I watched it for a little bit, went back to meditation, and then it was gone. And I was just with that for a little bit. And then I look, and then there's another bee that comes by, drowning in the water. And I was like, oh. So I grab that bee, get my long stick out, and I put it on the bank next to me. And it does its bee thing. Like, it takes care of itself. It looks, it's like, does its wings. And then I watch it, and it goes right back to doing its bee thing. And I'm like, what a metaphor. This bee is, I'm kind of drowning in my own emotional muck, right? And then this bee is literally drowning. And here we come together in this moment, and it demonstrates to me how to just like do your thing, man. And then it goes back to the tree that's hanging over the river that it very well may fall off of again. And I'm like, right. So it was like low, low and emotional muck and high, high, and this incredible connection I had with this bee. Right. So I love that despite my unwillingness to do what I know is the thing that's really my soul is calling me to do, I can end up having these extraordinary experiences. Okay.
And
That's
you
my
were there for two bees. By the way, can we take 2 deep breaths? Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that metaphor. And I'm going to admit to a bias I have, and it's that when there is intense energies, supposedly, or whenever there is a tone of everybody I know or everybody's going through this certain thing, I tend to get it's almost like defensive, like, I don't know if that's true. Definitely skeptical. And there is this really probably discordant part of my Jill that's like, well, I don't want to do what everybody's doing. I don't want to be feeling what everybody else is feeling. And I'm just going to own that right here. I love your experience, and I'm so glad you shared it. And then there's a part of me going, well, I've got stuff going on in my life, but I don't feel, I guess there's high highs and low lows, but I'm also not a fight or flight type of person. So I want to join you in this theme, but I also want to recognize, I guess they're like biases that I have of like, for someone that, and you aren't struggling with this, you obviously smoothed yourself through it and we're there for the bees, which is beautiful. There's another part of me that just in this reality, I find myself being the one that when there is somebody that is legit losing their shit, that I'm like grabbing them by the lapels of the shoulders going, okay, now we got to be tough. Like, we got this. Okay. You with me? Let's go. You know what I mean? So I feel like that is so much my role in almost instinctively and maybe even soulfully. So when I come across somebody that is fragmented or having a moment where they're in a panic or whatever words we want to call it, there's a part of me that's just kind of, I'm first thing I'm doing is observing. Does it look like they're okay and they've got this, or could they use some support? Where then I don't want to say intervene, but I'll go up and go, you okay, you all right? But I do it in such a way, I don't have a, you all right, kind of appealing to their fragility, because I'm hoping I can help them feel their strength, because I know we all have it. So I don't know for sure why I'm bringing that up, but I'm just acknowledging I guess I'm acknowledging the individuality, which is such a great theme in our series so far. That if somebody relates to, oh my God, this weekend, like, yes, I had the highest highs and lowest lows, and I didn't want to do something too, and something was amiss about the communication and it was messed up. And, I had a moment, and then I was there for, someone else. And then I felt more like myself again. And I just felt more together. And there might be others going, facing stuff, but I didn't have that. I just want to acknowledge the individuality, that we are not all experiencing the same energies, in my opinion. And maybe that could be a good conversation too, Janet. I don't feel like we're all on the same wave in the ocean. I really don't. Even surfers that are literally on the same wave are definitely having their own ride. And some are crashing and burning and, feeling like they're going to choke, and others are like best wave ever. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm just kind of clinging to that, maybe not clinging. I'm wanting to voice that individuality. What do you think?
I think it's foundationally how we roll and what we personally believe in our belief systems.
Mm.
It's so I'm quite like, do I generalize too much? It's like, no, I don't think so. I'm
Okay.
noticing what I'm noticing. And what we do is we come on here and we share, well, our experience, our noticing, fresh ideas, new ways, new perspectives.
Mm.
So I I completely support, don't think that you have to have high highs and low lows right now. And, right, if you do, just I guess the bigger thing is notice where you're at, right?
Mm.
I share where I'm at as a way of people tapping into their own knowingness about
Mhm.
their own experience and really honoring it. A lot of people think that spiritual people don't get messy emotional.
Oh
Me, I
my god, I
do.
forgot about that. Yeah, same. Definitely me. Yeah.
So I share that very openly, right? And I
Mm.
also get the kind of the restoration of nature. There's rhythms and there's cycles in nature that are so important. And what happened was I was so absorbed in this, and
Mhm.
then this invited me to a different place, much like you described
Mm.
when you see somebody that's struggling,
Mhm.
you know? That bee wasn't poor you, it was doing its bee thing, and it just happened to be drowning, both of them at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So, I will individuality and, I do think in our world that we don't all go through hard things at the same time by design. Like,
Right.
somebody's gotta have their shit together,
Right, exactly. You find the one going, "Oh," you know what I mean? And somebody's like, "You good?
right?
Thumbs up, you good?" I'd rather they be it's in themselves enough to go, "You good?" Versus be like, "Oh, me too."
And I'll also say, even in the midst of my emotional messiness, I
Mm.
am present. And if somebody came up to me, and was in a crisis that needed immediate attention, I would be there in a millisecond. I would probably be there a half a millisecond before they even know they needed it, right? Because
Yeah.
because that's just the way I'm wired.
Mhm.
So it's not about I mean, to me, the emotional thing and the fight or flight was what my body was doing in response to the emotions. My bigger
Mhm.
self was right there,
Mhm.
and the whole point in that is, which I didn't say, but I was thinking about as I started, was that we are so big, and our capacity to be here is so gigantic that I can hold all of it and still be me.
Oh, that's so big and so important. Yeah, and I can't remember which episode number we talked about this, but there was one where we talked about when we are in pain or fear or sadness or any of the more contracted kind of energy, um, patterns, we do contract, we get really small. And one of the reminders that we've given, probably in more than one episode, was that, but we are more than that. So there's part of us that's contracted and feeling very small, powerless, in ourselves, which isn't a bad thing. I don't look at that as low vibe or anything. It's part of our humanness, and it's completely okay and understandable. And then right next to it, not underneath it, not over it, not above us, right next to that, but equally available, is the bigness, the soulfulness that's like, oh, come on, we can do this, or whatever encouragement you feel like you need, in that moment. But it is right next to each other. And sometimes it can take a bee in the water to get us to also feel that other layer, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Another layer of this that I'm feeling, Janet, and if you disagree that this is related, just tell me and I'll accept this. A difference of a style of community versus non-community. I love your heart for community, and I do feel like your archetype is much more community minded and community heartfelt than mine is. So I feel your love and I feel your soulfulness in, a lot of people I know are really having some high highs and low. That's a very community um, led kind of orientation. And I don't even ask. I mean, and it's not, I don't think that I'm selfish in that way, but I'm just not looking for that. So if I'm going through something, I'm not like popping my head above the cubicle in corporate going, anyone else? I mean, it's not me, but others, it's not an effort. It's just naturally there. This sense of others I notice are going through this too. And I just want to acknowledge that beautiful distinction in style that some people have, and that might be helpful for them. If they're the type that they don't pop their head above the cube going anyone else, that's okay. That's their nature. It's their orientation. It doesn't have to be something they fix or solve. And how great is it that others are oriented differently? I love that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that comes back to the theme of independent, authority. And
Mhm.
really, however I am, there's such a tendency in that comparison, or there's lots of different reasons we do it, but to think that who I am is not really extraordinary, because I think that's true. We all have our uniqueness that is quite brilliant because it's source energy. And so however we recognizes that, wherever your head is,
Mhm.
maybe you're just the sober witness and you hold space and you witness everything and never say anything. I mean, it's all valuable, and when we're really as in tune as we can be, and that's not perfect either, right? I mean, when you shared that about, when I'm going through something, I was thinking that
Sorry. Sound of a drill going into stud. It's weird that I know exactly what that sound is. Describe it. It's a 2x4. It's a quarter-inch drill bit.
yeah, I'm, fairly skilled in the construction industry too, so I was like, "Wow." But for a moment, it sounded like, a horn going off, which I thought
Oh,
was
yeah, it did.
hysterical.
Yes, very reminiscent of a horn. Yep, no horns,
So
but
I thought that
definitely
was
construction still,
it was very
hammering and
funny.
drilling going
Um,
on in my place.
but so what I
Sorry,
was gonna
everybody. Go ahead, Janet.
a little comic relief there perhaps, I hope,
Yeah.
whatever it was. When I'm going through something, whatever it is, the more awareness I can have about that without judgment, because there's times when I don't need to be driving my car. I don't if my bandwidth is so focused on this, whatever this is, and that could be inner processing, that could be I mean, I don't it could be anything, right? It
Mhm.
could be that my body's going through I just had surgery, you know? I just have to laugh at the noise level. Sorry, I'm kinda funny that way. So I think that is helpful, that level of self-care, I wanna say, and, I'm wondering, do we wanna take a little pause here?
Can you still hear it?
I can.
Darn it. Shoot, let me see. Oh, wait, I'll put mine on mute while you're sharing. Go ahead.
Good idea. Okay. Um, so in terms of my own self-care and that self-love and kindness for myself, that doesn't mean I'm less than, that doesn't mean I'm wrong. We've covered this so many times in so many podcasts, and I know we probably will continue to because it's one of those little holes that we can trip over or fall in where we're less and not kind to ourselves. And, we are full on be who you are and do that. Just be that. Right. So,
I'm so glad you said that because again, we're sort of on this theme of individuality and really helping maybe people have increased self-awareness about their individuality and hopefully looking to that as a source of strength, as that's a positive, that's not a negative. If you're different from so and so or this group or that group, or you've always felt like the only one that reacts in a certain way or handles something a certain way, it's totally okay. I hope we're giving you more permission that that's not a flaw, it might be a feature.
yeah,
Yeah, and
completely.
I know with some stuff my family's going through right now, it's my feature set is definitely well suited to some things going on, and I'm so grateful for that. But I'm also still experiencing things in the way that they are too. It's just that they're not doing it all the same way either. So anyway, just wanted to offer that part. Yeah.
And I wanted to bring an awareness to, and I know this has come up before as well in some of our other videos, that the way I think of myself sometimes is flawed. It's just not accurate. And so I get feedback all the time from how people see me. And then there's how my mind thinks I am, and then there's how who I really am, right? And when that gap can begin to close, where whatever kind of filters or ideas or beliefs or traumas or whatever is in the way of me having, I'll say, an accurate self-appraisal. I mean, nothing is perfect in this world, right? It's not about that, but it's really kind of taking more ownership of me and allowing whoever I am, my skill sets, my abilities to be features and to really celebrate those because other people do. It's kinda like I'm the last one sometimes, and I know people are on a spectrum, right? Like, that's how I roll, and then there's the other people that are just kind of a little more egoic, I'll say, in that way. In the ego, there's, like, pride and reverse pride, right? And it's all a spectrum, and same thing happens with people in their level of confidence or just awareness. So, to close that gap, and that comes up, quite frequently in my awareness of for personally, and I reflect that back for others too, but it's like, wow, do you realize what just happened, how you showed up? And that because the kind of the kicker of it is, I'm doing way better than I think I'm doing,
Hmm.
right? And that I think we could all use a little more of that, especially when we have some sort of stress. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of things changing right now in our world that people may be great with and they may not be with. And some people are flow better than others. And,
Mhm.
some people, have challenges. But I do think as a whole, I know I am. I'm doing way better than my mind tells me I am a lot of times.
Mm.
And that's one of those patterns that I can look at and like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Not today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Not today.
I'm glad you brought up the part about how other people see us may not be how we see ourselves. Because sometimes somebody can say something to us and it's like, "Wait, what?" Like, like, "Jill, you're the rock in this situation." And I'm like, "The rock?" And they meant it like, "You're the one who's stable and, like,
Mm,
gonna get us through this while we're all, bobbing in the
mm,
waves." And I'm like, "Really?" Like, "Oh, well, we're in trouble. Then we're in trouble." You know what I mean? I didn't say that, but I was just like, "Oh, F," you know? Um, Sometimes we can hear things that are surprising to us, to your point,
mhm,
and it doesn't it's okay to just give yourself a moment of neutrality that you don't have to see yourself that way. But when somebody is offering you that they and or a group is looking to you in a certain way, it can be revealing. It can increase our sense of self-awareness because I have found very consistently that with humans, our best strengths, we are sometimes the least likely to notice. And what we think are our best strengths are not what others look to us for or necessarily appreciate the most in us. Somebody that's a great vocalist, maybe like, oh, my best strength is my vocalist. And their friends and family, their inner circle, their favorite people in the world may go, actually, my favorite part about him is he's a fantastic listener. And I don't even have to say, please don't share this with others. It's a vault. It's in there. Right. So it is interesting how our self-awareness can be different than how others see us and what they may appreciate sometimes the most in us.
mhm,
It's humbling, I think, in some ways, that some of the things we may be most, to use your word, proud of or feel accomplished for, others don't really care about. Right? I think that's I kinda like the humility in that I'm like, "Oh, well, I have this degree and that degree," but my inner circle could care less if I have an MBA and blah, 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 you know what I mean? They don't care, but there's a
yeah.
part of me going, "That's kinda cool that I have that though," you know?
Yeah, there's this excuse me, there's this idea of I think it's so normal for me how I am that I just can't see it. And there's like pros and cons to that, right? And so, yeah, I completely relate to that. And the level of self awareness does help me. I'll say kind of serve better. I'll use that word. It helps me show up more. It helps me not judge myself. And it also helps me not project things or assume it's easy for people what's so easy for me because they can't do it or they're not wired that way. And
Mm.
that's got me kind of in some trouble, I'll say, but where I haven't had like the most honoring or smooth relationship dynamics, so it's really helped me um serve better, help clients better, be a better human, be a better dog parent, be, just a better person in general.
That is I'm so grateful that you said what you said, and that has been a theme that I've been kind of re-experiencing. This idea that somebody else's strengths are not my strengths and vice versa. And I have gotten myself into the most frustrating where the situations that were very frustrating to me when I presume that because I could do it or I could handle it without getting flustered, they should be able to too, right? And I'm consistently going, oh, they're not me and I'm not them. They're doing things that maybe I frustrate them on things like, Jill, come on. Like, come on, like, just do it or just, be this way or be that way, just whatever. And I'm like, this is what I do right now is I problem solve. I'm into the problem solving. But that
Mm.
is so valuable to have that acknowledgement that, oh, if somebody is frustrating you, is possibly a part of it. Are you expecting them to be something they're not? Right? Are you asking a horse to be a zebra? Is a metaphor I use a lot in my work because that will never lead anywhere good. It's like you cannot ask the horse to be the zebra, and you shouldn't ask the zebra to be the horse either. They're two totally different things. So there are some people that have, patience and other people that have impatience. And impatience can be a strength. That can be a feature set because those people they don't, wait around for something to happen. They make shit happen.
And this is such a valuable reminder and thing to practice, even, in the traditional roles of like management. If you've managed people and if you haven't learned how to help people and use the strengths of your team members,
Mm.
it's a lot more difficult to get the job done. And then there's our family dynamics, even with our children or with our pets, even. I find that constantly. No, Gracie's got this. Like, this morning in the park, a dog off lead comes tearing off, towards us in the field. It's like, oh, I've seen Gracie spin out away from those dogs before. Like we're good, right? So, and even I mean, in every community, if you're a community organizer or trying to get along with your neighbor, even, like this is so applicable. And if we really want to live in the world that we want to live in, this is like foundational. How to get along with other people, how to honor them, who they are and who they aren't.
That's good. And one strategy that might work in that regard, it might be helpful to pick somebody that's super disappointing or frustrating to you. Not you, Janet, but just the audience, and just really reflect for a moment. What is it that I wish they would be right now that they're not? Or what is it that I was expecting from them that they clearly either are unwilling or unable or both? Maybe it doesn't matter, right? But what is that? And just let yourself have a moment of kind of almost like organically letting because the answer may literally pop up like a ball that's been held under the water. The answer may be like, oh, I was expecting they would show up in this way or they would handle it that way, and they're not, and it's driving me crazy, right? It could be that in that moment you stop and say, what are their strengths in this? Because it's natural to have, if you're one of those people with a pretty quick brain that could go, well, they're not doing, and figure out the gaps, but what are you missing in terms of what their strengths are? Because that can help you be literally a better version of yourself with them. Because as we talked about, I think in the most recent one, people know what you're thinking. Just because you don't say out loud, you're driving me crazy, you know, they trust me, they know. They don't even have to be trained in intuition or any of this stuff. Somebody knows if you are disappointed in them, if you are upset with them, or if you're frustrating them. They know. And it's better to assume that they know what you're thinking and feeling than to pretend that they don't because you didn't say it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I love this conversation about how we get along in the world better with whoever it is and with whatever it is. And that awareness to just take that pause and that breath. And we will keep coming back to this again and again because this is how we get to practice being better versions of ourselves all the time. Because a lot of times well, one thing that could be happening, I'll say it that way, is I'm looking for some sort of need within me to be fulfilled. And I have assigned that person that role. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that their role? Like, wait, especially if it's on an emotional level. I mean, I can see this in personal relationships all the time. And wow, I mean, people that have been our support, sometimes they can't be our support in those moments. And for me to assume that they can be, that's not fair,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Um, no, I agree. Yeah. Romantically, I find that that happens a lot, and also with best friend kind of situations, or even business partners. It's we give them too big of a job. Well, the
Mhm.
ideal partner for me would be able to do this and able to do that, and I'll offer this part of my giftedness and my personality set so we can be great. But if you ask more of the other person than they are willing and or able to provide, you are in a state of disappointment, perhaps anger, frustration, and that will cause tension and discord in that relationship sooner or later.
Mhm.
So to reassess, okay, like we were talking about here, what am I expecting of them that they're not being? And then my favorite strategy is who else can do that for you? Right? My husband is so great. He's not perfect and I'm not perfect, but we've been married 33 years this year. 33, 32. I got to do the math. 2025, 1993. Yeah, 22. So 22 years this year. Anyway, whatever year, or 32. Oh my God,
32.
whatever. Anyway, a long
32.
time, 32 years. But there are things he's not good at, and there are things I'm not good at. And I feel like part of our magic is that we acknowledge and, in a way, accept that Jeff is not the first one to go, oh my God, Jill, you did so great with that. And I admit my need. I love an atta girl. And that's what I call it. It's like, good job, Jill. That's great. You know what I mean? He's not quick with those. And I'm such a strong encourager of others that I'm the first one to go, like, oh my God, great job, Jeff. You know what I mean? And he's like, didn't need that, but thanks. And he doesn't say that, but I know that's what he's thinking. Thanks, babe. And he's just, charging on. So I've chosen to let other people be that for me or be it for myself.
Mhm.
But I need that. I have that need and I need it met. And I realized a long time ago that's not him. So I let it be other people, anybody, a client, whatever. Oh my God, Joel, thank you so much. That was so great. Oh, you're welcome. I don't then need to go in the other room and go, Jeff, guess what I just did? You know what I mean? But so taking jobs away from people that they're clearly not doing for you versus just letting it fester and harbor resentment to them is, I think, a far more successful approach.
Yeah, me too. There's this communication potential here too. that Instead of making assumptions. And so there's a couple things. There's that, like being clear. And some people are talkers and some people aren't talkers. So that's also, kind of a navigational point. But, I really do support. I mean, when I think about a healthy relationship, there's two sovereign people here, you know? Strengths, not so strong. Strengths, not so strong. And the ones that work are the ones that we can honor that enough in each other that we still have that kind of heart connection, I'll call it. We can still get that joy and work together in whatever way that we've decided to work together without me assuming that somebody's going to do it. But we've decided. And I've got to practice this so much in my life. And I will continue to get to practice this because to me, it's kind of a operating system that I get to practice what I really believe in.
That's
Honor,
good.
respect, sovereignty. Everybody's just an amazing soul here. And
Mhm,
sometimes I can't see it, and I get to admit that.
mhm.
It's like, well, can't see it, but I know it's in there somewhere.
The other the other part of this I wanna voice, given what you just said about communication and sort of temperament and that sort of thing, it's I don't I don't see anything wrong with asking for what you're hoping for from another person,
Mhm.
and then listening for their answer, though. If they're like, "Oh, I'm not good at that," or "I don't know if I can do that for you," we can ask, but they don't have to deliver, right?
Yeah.
But it's okay to ask. And then also, I feel like humans could step up a little more. When there is an right, is that like the biggest euphemism I could say?
That's a good one.
Like, we could step up a little more or a lot more, right? But I mean, so I have some stuff going on in my family, and sometimes I'm sitting there going, "Oh, wait, like, this may be really important right now, or this might be really of service or of value." And if I were to go, "Well, it's not my place. I'm not
Mm,
someone's
mm,
husband. I'm not someone's child. I'm just this other relationship. I'm just the sister." Then I would just be sitting there going, "I hope someone says something. I wonder if they're thinking the same thing." So my nature is to voice an idea. I'm not assuming anybody's on board with me. I'm not assuming anybody will say, "Yes, let's do that." I'm not assuming anyone will get mad at me or shut me down. It's just, "Hey, we've got this situation. I wonder if this would help." And that has happened so much with something going on in my family right now that now, but it does frustrate me. So I will vent to Jeff. Jeff's the best listener when somebody's venting because he doesn't absorb it in like a toxic way. He just goes, "Yeah, no, yeah, frustrating." Like, "Oh God, I hear you, Jill." And I'm like, "Thanks." And then he can hang up and like a lot of guys do, just like gone, not
yeah.
hanging on to it. "Oh, Jill's frustrated, just like, why is it always me? Why is it? Why am I the one? Why didn't they say anything? Why is it? Why do I always have to bring up the super difficult conversations?" And then three people say I was thinking the same thing. It just there's a part of me that just gets really pissed off and wanting to go into martyr mode, which is not my nature. But at times I'm just like, I don't want to be the one that has to say something. But think of all the things that every single anybody listening or watching this are super good at that you might be a bit more passive for super rational reasons. "Well, it's not my place. I shouldn't say anything. It's not my, whatever. It's not my expertise. I don't have a degree in that, or I don't have that certificate yet." People, it's just an idea. Or it's just saying, "Are you okay?" It's we overinflate the
Mm,
responsibility by stepping up even a little bit
mm.
into a situation, and it does make me wonder if more assertive kind of thoughts, actions, and feelings would be more helpful in the world. Yeah, anyway, yeah.
Jill, I just want to honor your leadership abilities.
Thank you. That's been there.
I mean, I really mean this because this is not, I want to say, a template or an idea or something that's wired into our society as well as it could be. And so, and I get it because sometimes I'll get that frustration too, and I forget. I mean, I know we're talking to a whole bunch of leaders here, right? And so, yeah, leaders can get effing pissed off. And sometimes that kind of pissed offness because other people aren't showing up. And people get pissed off at me too. So I'm not like saying that isn't right. But around certain things, and there's this metaphor, and I know we're going to probably end pretty quickly here, but I want to share this one metaphor about This came up a long time ago, and it was so helpful for me. So I'm going to share it here because I just remembered it. Sometimes God hands me the baton. You know, in a race where the baton gets handed from one person to another, and I don't effing want it. And that doesn't matter. What matters is that I grab the baton and run like hell. Because in that moment, that's my job. That's the invitation. I can accept it or not. But if I really want to go for it and show up like I'm asking other people to do, then I demonstrate that. And I take the baton and run like hell. And if I drop it or trip, whatever, you know, doesn't matter.
That's
So
beautiful, Janet. Yeah.
good job on
Thank
taking the
you.
baton,
Got another girl from Janet. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
using your skill sets in a way that you know how. And I suspect
Mhm.
that you've expanded some. I think your heart's bigger,
Mm. Mhm.
and I think your skill sets are more refined as a
Mm.
result of you taking the baton
True. That's very
and
true.
running like hell, whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, that's true. There's a related story to what you offered, and I feel like it might be a good kind of ending story in addition to your great story about the baton. With my form of giftedness, where I feel that really close personal connection to Jesus, to Source, to God, all of it, and just this really clear inner voice about theology, philosophy, really big ideas that to me just feel fundamental and a big improvement and an update to this reality. When I first started to experience those layers of myself in a very almost like an intimate inner conversation, it never felt like a channeled message from an outside force. It felt like another layer of me talking to me. Um, and there was part of me in that kind of inner dialogue just going, well, who's going to say that like we can't be separate from God? Who's going to, who, where is that offered in the world? And I literally felt that inner voice go, well, why? I mean, if you're not hearing what you think would benefit to be said, why not you? And I was just like, I don't want it to be me. I mean, number one, who's going to listen? Number two, why I have no credibility. I have no, miracle story or, sad story, which is so popular in spiritual teachers these days is a story of the hero's journey. I don't have that. So there was a part of me going, I don't know if anyone will listen. And I just felt Jesus say, well, maybe it'll feel good for you to say it anyway. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right.
Mm.
So I've just taken that approach of I will say what I feel could benefit at the risk of being ignored, at the risk of being denied, at the risk of being, ridiculed, because it's worth it to say something for the sake of solving a problem or making things better in the world. So there are some risks involved, but none of them matter as much as the kind of bigger, more important goal of, and I think in some ways I'm trying to avoid a life situation where I'm passing out of this reality, i.e. dying. I'm hoping to avoid a situation. I don't want to have to say to myself, I should have said it. I'm content. I'm approaching it as at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll know I've said what I thought was true and felt would be a better expression of God's true nature and the Christ consciousness in this reality. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, because not everybody, other people are getting other messages, but
Mm.
maybe not
Mm.
that one. Right. So, and I love that, to avoid regrets, actively avoid regrets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
everybody.
So good to be with everybody again, and so appreciate the comments. So grateful for your support, your listening. Yeah, subscribe. Send some comments. You want to hear something specific? Let us know.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Janet.
Thanks. All right. Bye for now.